You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a professional motivational speaker, Nancy can assist you to blow through your setbacks and start living full out. If you have an inspirational story you want to share, email us at connect@livingfullout.com. Once again, here's Nancy.
Hello and welcome to the Living Full Out Show. My name is Nancy Solari, and today we're going to be talking about finding what makes you happy. Gosh, doesn't that sound so easy? Like, why should we just not find what makes us happy? But sometimes that can take a whole lifetime to figure out, really. And just when you got your happy, it can be gone. So you have to be able to tap into happiness a lot of times within, not getting it always from other people or external events in your life. But how do you find that inner place where you're the most happy? We're going to be talking about that. And in fact, our inspirational guest, Rob Dubin, that is all he talks about these days. And it's really been a quest for him as well to get past various storms in his life and kind of cut away what were not important to him and really focus on what brings him joy. Now, we want to make sure that beyond today's show that you are supported, so always feel free to go to livingfullout.com. All of our episodes are right there waiting for you. Just look for the theme that's resonating with what you're going through. And again, if you're in the car and you're on a road trip, just go to the App Store, look for the Living Full Out Show app, and you can, check us out, listen on the go or at the gym, wherever you like. Now, I am getting word from our producer that we do have a listener on the line. We're going to check in with them. Hello, welcome to the Living Full Out Show.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, wonderful, thank you. How can I help you?
So my question was just more so about the stress regarding school. So I recently just graduated college, and now I'm starting to look for jobs as well as I'm starting up grad school in the fall. And I just wanted to know the best way of just dealing with that type of stress while also maintaining happiness for myself and making sure my mental health is all good.
Oh, you know what? Well, first of all, pop the champagne. You are graduated. Yay. I mean, that is really meant to be celebrated. So you just, tell those stresses to back down, right? Because you're a graduate. But it is hard to figure out, okay, what's next, right? Because it's like when we're in school, we get summer break and a couple of spring breaks and things, but you always know that next go-to, right? Fall semester, whatever. There's always a syllabus. There's always exams. And now you're going to be tested by life. And I will tell you, as someone probably decades down the road in life than you, the game of life is so much better. I promise you. A little bit scary when you graduate, but it is really an exciting journey. Now, when you think about having graduated and this stress, because we want to get you happy, right? What is the biggest stress? Is it just is it the fact of, okay, I got this degree now. Okay, where's that dream job? Is it, okay, now I'm gonna have more bills. How do I pay for them? What is it?
It's more so of just finding what makes me happy and just taking that adjustment from so many years of school to now go into life in general.
Did you do a lot of internships when you were in school?
I had about 2 or 3.
About 2 or 3. And did you feel like you were really able to soak up kind of the day in the life of who you want to become from those?
I would say so, yeah.
Okay. And so given all of that, what is it that you want to do? What is that career?
So I want to work in a school. I want to be a guidance counselor.
Okay. Oh, I love that.
So I wanted to just work with people.
Okay. Now, how is it going? Have you started putting your resume out there? I know you just graduated, but have you started that process?
Yeah, I started to look at different places near me that would be perfect fits as far as balancing out my class schedule with grad school and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. And other prior guidance counselors, like when you've done your internships and stuff, did they say when they first started, was it hard to get in that first job?
Yeah, they said it's very difficult because most places ask for experience, and it's very hard to find that one place that's willing to take a chance on someone that doesn't have the experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the reason why I asked that question is because I had a really good friend of mine who is a guidance counselor today. In fact, she's a principal even today. But she too, I saw her go through that journey, many, many resumes out the door. But she did do a lot of substituting. She did a lot of different jobs that just kind of got her into different schools, into different districts to kind of make the connections. So obviously, guidance counselor number one, that's like, what you're shooting for. But what would be some other career options that you could choose that would give you the experience to put on your resume to get there?
I would say teaching. That's another thing that I've thought about because I just really enjoy like working with kids and working with other people.
Mm-hmm.
Anything regarding just like school and just like being around kids and helping them is stuff
And
that
the
makes me
degree
happy.
that you have, will that allow you to be a teacher, or do you have to get more
Yes,
education? It will.
I
Awesome.
would have to just get certified, but I have the degree to like specifically go into that too.
Okay, okay. So I would do that, number one. Okay. And then, the thing is, it's just about every day doing something of action. So I actually take 5 actions a day. Now, those actions could be little things like the self care, right? Going to the gym or, taking my guide dog on an extra long beach walk. But sometimes those 5 things are making calls that I've been putting off, some maybe work calls, just kind of building connections. Maybe it's that fun job of paying the bills, right? And the reason why I say pick your number, for me, it's 5. I tend to do more than 5 things in a day, but pick your number and make it a number that you can always stand by. And those 5 things can vary. But the thing is, you want to be in action because until you have that guidance counseling job, until you have that teaching job, it's kind of like, what am I getting out of bed for? Have you
Yeah.
experienced that?
Not yet, but I'm sure it'll come
It'll
soon.
come. It'll come. Well, there you go. No, spoiler alert, but it will come. The thing is, the reason why that getting out of bed thing, like you're still excited, you just graduated, there's tons of hope, and there really is. But you have to always have that vision, like envision yourself sitting with a student counseling them. Envision yourself teaching them and really hold that space. And then every morning that you wake up, every day, one of those 5 actions or 2 or 3 of those should be to get to that place. Now, you also want to kind of be as if you're already it. Okay, meaning that if you already had that guidance counseling position, what sort of things might you read or study to just keep yourself current, to keep yourself, prepared for what students might come at you with? You might also consider as a teacher, gosh, what would my stance be on how I would teach? What are my methods? You might even interview some teachers or interview some HR staff and pick a district that maybe you're not applying in. So yes, you might drive an hour away, right? But
Hmm.
the more you can know about what you're going to be asked, the more you can nail it. That friend of mine I told you about, as prepared as she was, she always found the process daunting. Lots of the application questions were long. The interviews were 2 or 3, right? So I would just
Yeah.
take this time to really get yourself queued up. And one of the things, because I can say this for a fact, I interview a lot of people, because I run a company. And one of the things that really pulls me in, that really allows somebody to their personality to pop off their resume is when you have personal stories that you're going to share, like why you became a guidance counselor. Maybe a time when a guidance counselor touched you. Who was your favorite teacher and why were they your favorite? These storytellings are what are going to separate you from other candidates. So again, it's just kind of thinking about those things now. And then lastly, there are the typical self-cares, right? Sleep, eat well, work out. How do you
Yeah.
currently manage stress, though? What is your go-to?
My go-to is usually just either being with friends. That usually takes my mind off a lot of stuff, or just taking time to just like sit down by myself in a room and just think about stuff and let everything flow out, and that usually helps with calming myself down.
Are you sure that you're not a 40-year-old in a 20-something body? That is very, very mature of you. And I would just keep doing more of that. And in that friendship base, because I do this in my own life, it's kind of thinking about who's that career-minded friend you can go to, who's that empathetic ear, kind of having different friends for different purposes when you need them most. But otherwise, you are right on track. I'm so proud of you. Again, pop the champagne, hooray, and let the fun begin. Okay? Thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you.
And for everybody, we're going to be coming right back. But today, it is all about finding what makes you happy. And sometimes you got to go through the weeds. Sometimes you got to, run fast, and other times slow down and really take in what's around you. And we'll be talking more about what I mean by all that as the journey along with the show goes. So stay with us. We will be right back.
Life looks a little different. During these times, we're doing our best to keep our minds and bodies strong. And getting a flu shot helps us stay healthy, so we don't miss out on what matters. Like having game night at home. Yeah, can't do that while sick with the flu. Now imagine family movie night that your daughter can't live without. Well, that's ruined. And don't forget your uncle's socially distanced cookout. See, that's why it's important to be at our strongest. Every year, millions of people in the U.S. get the flu. Especially now, no one has time to miss out on moments that matter. So get your flu shot. Find out more at getmyflushot.org. Brought to you by the AMA, CDC, and the Ad Council.
Don't you wish your life came with a warning app?
Stop. That dog does not want to be petted.
Just a little heads up before something bad happens.
Move your coffee cup away from your computer.
Oh, no.
So you can have more control.
Stop. You're texting your boss by mistake.
Uh-oh. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes like managing your weight, getting active, stopping smoking, and eating healthier, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. It's easy to learn your risk. Take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Warning. The cap is loose on that ketchup.
Ugh. Don't wait. You have the power to change the outcome. Visit doihaveprediabetes.org today. That's doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its pre-diabetes awareness partners.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. And now a speech.
I just want to say that friendship is about heart and brain. Who's with me?
Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
And my brain is saying, when it's time to go home, somebody call me a ride.
Love that guy.
Me too.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Watch out! You got me!
The galaxy is safe once again.
In the pretend universe, kids play with pretend guns. In the real world, it's up to us to make sure they don't get their hands on a real gun. If you have a gun in the house, keep it locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a life coach, Nancy can teach you how to stay strong under pressure and work through challenges you face. Being legally blind, Nancy inspires others to be resilient in overcoming obstacles and live full out. You can ask Nancy for advice in your life on relationships, finance, business, health, and more. Just call in at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. Now, here's Nancy.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Nancy Solari, and this is the Living Full Out Show. And today we're talking about finding what makes you happy. And surely that takes discipline, sometimes quieting the noise of expectations of others and having focus and intention with, after all, what makes you happy. And our inspirational guest today, Rob Dubin, is really a perfect example of both quieting the noise, expectations of others, and having that really laser focus. So I'd like to welcome Rob to the show.
Thank you for having me, Nancy. I'm glad to be here.
Oh, I am too. And gosh, there's so much. So we're going to just jump in. Okay, everybody put on your seatbelts because, one of the things I think, there's so many fascinating things about you, but you went bald early. You started showing some bald symptoms in kindergarten, which I know that at that age was kind of playful. People were kind of rubbing your head. It was a little novelty. But it became a larger problem and stressor for you, and you were bullied when you were around 10. But it's interesting because, and we'll talk about the mountain man in you later on, but there is this inner spirit, this toughness that I think really shined when you were 10. What happened that was really the defining moment that kind of set the narrative for your whole life?
Well, being bullied was actually one of the best things that ever happened to me in my life. And of course, that sounds odd to people, but it really is all about how we reframe the things that happen in our life to make them positive or to make them help us get to who we want to become. And I don't know that I did this right at the age of 10, but what happened is I was about in fourth grade, and a couple of sixth graders were picking on me and bullying me on the playground. And at one point, I just kind of lost it. I heard this roaring in my ears and got tunnel vision, and I ran at these two kids with my little 10-year-old fist swinging as hard as I could, and I beat up these two kids that were both much bigger than me. And I don't really remember that part of it, but the thing I do remember is that the playground monitor, the gym PE teacher who all of the kids idolized, a man named Mr. Garrettson, he picked me up and he said, "Rob, you don't even like those kids. Why do you care what they think of you?" And so literally at the age of 10 years old, I began to reframe things that my self-worth came from me and not what other people thought about me. And most people don't really come to that realization until they're in their late 40s or 50s. And that realization at a young age is really what shaped my life, because I then went on about living my life for who I wanted to be, not for other people's expectations or society's expectations or my parents or teachers or other people's thoughts of me. And that really made all the difference for my entire life.
Well, and you had that toughness. Going bald and being bullied and those great words of wisdom from your gym teacher. But one of the things that's so interesting is life will just scoop us up experiences that really test those mantras that we set for ourselves. And I know as your life went on, you were kind of that energetic spirit and a forward thinker. And early on in your career, you started your own film production company that really did photography in many different ways. And you had great success later on with working with ABC and doing a lot of great, excursions and getting those on film. But there was a moment where you were doing these slide presentations and you had this amazing opportunity, Academy Award scenario, and it didn't go so well. And I imagine that really challenged that mantra inside you. It's like I imagine it was embarrassing, but yet you had to really rally. What happened there?
Well, I'm going to take just a step back to the story that we already talked about. The second aspect of that experience when I was a little kid is that when I did beat up these two school bullies, of course, nobody in the school liked them. There were a lot of other people that had been bullied by them. And so I got tremendous positive support from everybody else in the school for this action that I had taken. And as I said, I took the action to strike out at them without thinking about it. I kind of, like I said, had this roaring in my ears and got tunnel vision. But the end result was that I got tons of positive support for what I had done. And that gave me kind of that inner fire and strength that has carried through my whole life. And so when I had this colossal, most public failure possible that you described, I guess I had that to lean back on. And the incident was something like I was basically offered an opportunity to produce something like an Academy Awards ceremony in our local community for the advertising industry. And it was a gigantic opportunity to show my work to every potential client in the city and in the region. And it failed spectacularly because of an outside person. The electrical system at the venue failed, but it still came down on me. I mean, I can't blame it on anybody else because the bottom line is it still comes back to me. And so I had this gigantic public failure, the most public failure you can imagine. And it took me a long time to bounce back from that. I don't really remember how long or how I did it, but eventually I just moved on. And I think that's one of the things I teach when I teach my happiness workshops and for corporations is how to reinvent the stories of our past failures and turn those stories into something positive.
You know, I so appreciate that you said that. And that's exactly why I wanted you on today, because, you know, so oftentimes we try to look good, we try to sound good. And I appreciate that you kind of pulled back the veil there and shared that story with us. And you did have to make a decision, or maybe I should say the decision was made for you, the direction to go in your business. And you had great success. You actually, that slide into part of your business actually faded away. And one of the things that I think is so important that I want to touch on, you know, throughout this entire interview is how you kept your mind in that happy place, that reinventing, you know, that continuing to move forward. I mean, again, I guess we could thank the bullies on the playground for all that.
I wouldn't say the bullies, but I would say that that what I just mentioned, that I got that positive public support from other people who had been bullied. And so I sort of became the hero of the school for standing up to these kids. And that sort of set a tone for the rest of my life that, for one thing, I always stand up to bullies. And I think that's an important thing. I know a lot of people, when things get tough, they turn away from them. And so I've always engaged them, whatever challenges are in front of me. I've always engaged them and as you go through life and you have one success after another success after another success, not to say there are not failures interspersed with those, but when you do have successes, then you face the next challenge in your life. You have a frame of reference for, well, I overcame this thing and I overcame that thing. And,
well, and you
now I'm in.
And you hit it spot on. You really did. And now we're going to have to take a quick break. I want everybody to keep on listening, though, because this hero within him, I'm going to tell you a lot of stories here shortly of why that really rings true. So everyone stay with us. We'll be right back with Rob Dubin.
Today in school, I learned a lot. In chemistry, I learned that no one likes me. In English, I learned that I'm disgusting. And in physics, I learned that I'm a loser.
Today in school, I learned that I'm ugly and useless. And in gym, I learned that I'm pathetic and a joke. In history, I learned that I'm trash.
Today in school, I learned that I have no friends. In English, I learned that I make people sick. And at lunch, I learned that I sit on my own because I smell. In chemistry, I learned that no one likes me.
In biology, I learned that I'm fat and stupid. And in math, I learned that I'm trash.
The only thing I didn't learn in school today.
The only thing I didn't learn today.
The only thing I didn't learn
is why no one ever helps.
Kids witness bullying every day. They want to help, but they don't know how. Teach them how to stop bullying and be more than a bystander at stopbullying.gov. A message from the Ad Council.
I'm Nancy Solari, certified life and business coach. I want to invite you to the Personal Development Boot Camp. During the boot camp, we're going to be looking at taking those insecurities that you have and getting rid of them. We're also going to look at ways in which you can thrive and live a life full of purpose. Go to livingfullout.com/bootcamp, livingfullout.com/bootcamp to sign up. I believe in you, and here's to you living your life full out.
They'll challenge your authority. They'll try to break your will. They'll push you to the edge of your sanity. Because that's what kids do. But this car is your territory, not theirs. Defend it. Who makes the payments? Who cleans it? Who drives it? You do. That's who. And in here, your word is law. So when you say you won't move until everyone's buckled up, you won't budge an inch. Until you hear that click. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. For more information, visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup.
7 million children suffer from asthma, more than any other chronic disease. Most asthma attacks are caused by allergic reactions to allergens, including those left behind by cockroaches and mice. In fact, 82% of U.S. households contain mouse allergens, and cockroaches are found in up to 98% of urban homes. How can you protect your family? Find out at pestworld.org. A message from the National Pest Management Association and the American College of Allergy, Asthma, and Immunology.
Get it, slip it, cuff it, check it. Talk to doctor now and share it.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it twice a day.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it in the morning and before dinner.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it, and share it with my doctor. Nearly 1 in 2 U.S. adults have high blood pressure. That's why it's important to self-monitor your blood pressure in 4 easy-to-remember steps. It starts with a monitor.
Now that I know my blood pressure numbers, I talked with my doctor. We're getting those numbers down.
Get it, slip it, cuff it, check it. Talk to doctor now and share it.
Be next to talk to your doctor about your blood pressure numbers. Get down with your blood pressure. Self-monitoring is power. Learn more at manageyourbp.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the American Heart Association, and the American Medical Association. In partnership with the Office of Minority Health and Health Resources and Services Administration.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. With Nancy's expertise, you'll learn how to embrace your potential and strive for success. If you have a question or need further support, send us an email at connect@livingfullout.com. Now, here's Nancy.
Welcome back. I'm Nancy Solari, and this is the Living Full Out Show. And today we're talking about finding what makes you happy. And we're going to be continuing our interview here with Rob Dubin, who really is illustrating such great examples of taking action in our life, how to handle times that we fail, but also how to handle when a crisis comes our way and not to lose that focus. So I'd like to welcome Rob back to the show.
Well, thank you, Nancy.
Rob, one of your most famous stories, now you didn't, set out to make it famous, but was when you, a set of you, 7 of you, went on a ski trip. And although you had spent, many years in the mountains as a kid, skiing and climbing and, kayaking, I mean, you are just a wilderness expert, really. There was another gentleman, a friend of yours, who was kind of taking the lead. Along the journey, the 7 of you got split up into 3 different groups. And this became a national news story. People were searching for you. They assumed that you weren't going to make it. They would find your frozen bodies in the spring. But what I think is so interesting is your wife and you on this trip although so many external factors were happening, you didn't know when you were going to get saved. You didn't know how long it would be and how you would survive. But you and your wife found yourselves talking about, film gigs you had and, how you were going to get back on track. During such a time of crisis, why did you go to work? What gave you that strength?
Well, what got us out of the wilderness was two things, optimism and resilience. And people often say, well, optimism, that's seeing the glass as half full rather than half empty. But I think it's something different than that. On our second day of the 5 days that we were out in this worst blizzard in Colorado history, the sheriff announced on television that we had a 10% chance of survival. That was after day 2. And so maybe the glass was not half full. Maybe the glass was only 10% full if the sheriff's statistics were correct. But it doesn't matter. It's not that seeing the glass as half full or seeing it half empty. It's seeing the glass realistically as it is. And then if the glass was only 10% full in our case, it's asking yourself, what can you do with this 10%? So focus on the 90% for a moment, the challenge ahead of you, acknowledge that the challenge is real. But if you spend 10 minutes thinking about the challenge, my statistic is you spend 3 times that amount. So if you spent 10 minutes thinking about the challenge, now spend 30 minutes thinking about the solution, about what you can do with that 10% of the glass that you have under your control. And so that's partly what got us out, is that optimism. And then the other part of it is resilience. And resilience is the ability to lay in the snow all night long with 2 feet of snow falling on us and 50, 60 mile an hour winds and no tent or sleeping bag, and then get up in the morning and put on your skis and put on your pack and break trail through the thigh-deep snow. And then again, the next night lay there shivering so hard that I thought I was going to crack a rib, and then get up again the next morning and ski and continue doing that. So the two things that got us out were our optimism and our resilience. And one of the things that I teach in the executive leadership, resilient leadership courses I do, is leadership when you're still in the crisis. It's one thing to take stock, like maybe I did on that earlier failure you talked about in my business, where I kind of retreated for months or weeks and thought about it, and then I eventually came out and continued forward. That's one kind of resilience. But executive resilience in organizations, you don't have that luxury of time. You have to be resilient right now while the bullets are still flying. And so that's what I talk about, how to be resilient when you're still in the midst of the crisis.
Again, life just kept scooping you up more of those resilient moments, though, because the exposure that your wife had really compromised both her feet and her fingers, and they were going to amputate. And there was this moment where you went home just for a little bit before going back to the hospital to see her, and you saw her running shoes, and you cried all night, but you woke up happy. You woke up like this is going to work out. How did you go from crying on the floor, looking at her tennis shoes, worried about the life that would be ahead of you, to all of a sudden, it's all going to work out?
Well, I tell this story in detail in a TED Talk that that has just been released. It was actually just released 2 weeks ago, and I looked this morning. It's already got 14,000 views, so that's exciting that people are seeing it. And I tell the story in detail in the TED Talk, more time than we have here for it. But basically, I was told, the doctors told me they were going to have to amputate my wife's feet, and I fell apart that night, and my wife hadn't been told yet. And the next morning when I woke up, what happened is I spent this sleepless night imagining what our lives were going to be like. But when I woke up, I jumped up with a smile on my face, and I told my wife she was going to have a complete recovery. And that's what we focused on, and that's what did eventually happen. But what happened in that moment is that when I finally fell asleep about 5 a.m, my subconscious mind took over, and it did for me what it had been doing my entire life. And what I teach about happiness is that happiness is a decision. And so what happened when I fell asleep is my subconscious mind took over, and it decided to be happy. It decided we were going to have a happy life, not happy if she recovered or happy when she recovered, but we were going to have a happy life regardless. And so when I teach these happiness courses in organizations, and I go into an organization and I teach employee happiness, that's the first step of happiness, is that it's a decision you make. And then you learn some of the things about happiness, like I know you talked about earlier in your show about mindfulness and being present and all of that. So you first decide you want to be happy, then you practice the skills of happiness, and over time you become happier. And it's no different than, say, learning to play the piano. If you wanted to play the piano, you would decide you wanted to learn piano, and then you would take some piano lessons and you would practice your scales and things, and over time you would get good at piano. Well, happiness works the same way.
You know, I hear you loud and clear on that, and I was never good at piano, but I wish I had met you way back when. Maybe I could have been. But, you know, as we kind of close out this interview, I know that the mountain has taught you a lot over the years. Yes, you had that, you know, ski trip that went severely wrong, right? And that happened in the mountain, but that didn't teach you what you needed. It was early on. It was that gym teacher. It was the mountain who taught you how to find your way out. As we kind of close today out, because we don't all go to the mountain like you do physically, but what can we garnish from that you learned?
Well, I don't know that my experience is applicable to everybody. The things I teach about happiness, I think, are applicable. I can just tell you how I got to where I am. Tony Robbins is a friend of mine, and I've worked with Tony over 30 years, and he says we all have a global metaphor for life. And my global metaphor is climbing. So I started climbing Colorado's 14,000-foot mountains when I was a teenager. And I learned, I guess, two things that have really stood me well during my life, is that if you keep putting one foot in front of the other, you're probably going to get to the summit. And the other thing is, we often hear people in business say, well, fake it till you make it. And I don't believe in that concept, because in the world that I've lived in the mountains, I also sailed around the world on my own sailboat with my wife and I'm a pilot, and I hold some aviation records. And in all of those endeavors, if you fake it, you're probably going to die. So I don't believe in the fake it till you make it. But in all of those endeavors, and in my film career where I made films in all those remote locations, you had to be really buttoned up. You had to have thought through every possible scenario. You had to have all the right equipment, all the right gear, be in shape, do all the right things, and then you would be successful. So those are the things that have led to my success, is tremendous detailed preparation, and then keep putting one foot in front of the other.
I love that. And, you know, thank you for bringing up, you know, that you are a pilot. And literally, I just want to reference to our audience here, this internal strength, split-second decisions. I mean, you literally, with your wife, her first time up with you in the plane, you had to land the plane because there was engine failure on a multi-lane highway. And in that split-second decision, what was the one principle that you turned to? You had 30 seconds, 45 seconds. What was the one principle you leaned on?
Well, you know, I love this phrase that the military, because I do teach this executive leadership resilience. I've read what other people teach that are teaching that have also said, and I love the concept of people in the military have something that says, let me see if I can paraphrase it properly. You don't rise to the occasion, you fall back on your training. And that's certainly, I had thought through, I'd never had an engine failure, but I had thought through in detail, just the same as I talked about preparing for filming or preparing for climbing or preparing for flying. I had thought through in great detail, what would I do if my engine quit in this situation or in that situation? And as a pilot, you practice those things. And so I fell back on my training, and that, you know, led to a very successful outcome. We landed in the middle of this freeway basically, and in the middle of a lot of traffic, and nobody hit us, and we didn't hit any of the cars, and they all got stopped before they could hit us on the road. And it had a very successful outcome. But I love that idea of the military, because the SEAL teams are actually the ones who teach that you don't rise to the occasion, you fall back on your training.
You know, those are just super great words to end on today. Rob, thank you so much for sharing your story. And, you know, you've lived a very exciting life. And, you know, the pearls of wisdom you've given us today, really, I've taken to heart. And I think we can all apply them. So thank you so much. And, you know, we're just going to keep looking for more from you because nothing slows you down.
Well, thank you, Nancy. 30 years ago at a Tony Robbins retreat, I wrote that the purpose of my life was to live my dreams and inspire other people to live theirs. And I'm still trying to do that for the last 30 years and for the next few years as well.
You are definitely doing it, my friend. So thank you so much, Rob. And for everyone else, we're going to be coming right back. It's all about finding your happy today. And you can do it on your terms. How exciting. Okay, we'll be right back.
To some people, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much. But that's not necessarily true. By 6 months, they're combining vowels and consonants. By 9 months, they're trying out different kinds of sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on some meaning. Especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Early screening and intervention can make a lifetime of difference and unlock a world of possibilities. Take the first step at autismspeaks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Most of us like to be out in the sun. That's why sunscreen and other safety measures are key to protecting your skin from aging and cancer. The FDA recommends using a sunscreen with a sun protection factor, or SPF, of 15 or higher. Also, look for broad spectrum on the label. That means both harmful ultraviolet A and B rays are blocked. UVA rays age the skin, UVB rays burn, and both cause cancer. But the perfect sunscreen doesn't count if you use it wrong. Don't need sunscreen on a cloudy day? Wrong. 80% of UV rays still get through the haze. Only use sunscreen at the beach? Nope. Anytime you're outside, UV rays attack the skin, so you need protection. And you have to reapply sunscreen every 2 hours. Remember, SPF plus broad spectrum equal healthy fun in the sun. Visit www.fda.gov/sunscreen for more information. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
Right now, our country feels divided, but there's a place where people are coming together.
I gotta tell you, I was nervous to talk to someone so different than me.
Me too, but I'm glad we are.
Love Has No Labels and One Small Step are helping people with different political views, beliefs, and life experiences come together through conversation, and it feels good.
Wow, your story is so...
interesting?
Yeah.
When people actually sit down, talk, and listen to one another, they can break down boundaries and connect as human beings. At lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep, you can listen to amazing, life-changing conversations and find simple tools to start a conversation of your own.
I know one thing. This conversation gives me hope.
It gives me a lot of hope, too.
Take a step toward bringing our country and your community together by having the courage to start a conversation at lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep. A message from StoryCorps, Love Has No Labels, and the Ad Council.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, you want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
When it comes to finding what makes you happy, get excited. This is really a great thing. It's all about what brings you joy. And oftentimes it's what makes your toes wiggle, your ears wiggle, what has you jump out of bed in the morning. And it's what is easy in your life. It's what is fun. Now you want to kind of go more towards that, navigate it, find it, because truly when you do embrace what makes you happy, guess what? You're living full out.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a professional motivational speaker, Nancy can assist you to blow through your setbacks and start living full out. If you have an inspirational story you want to share, email us at connect@livingfullout.com. Once again, here's Nancy.
Hello, and thank you so much. We are so happy that you've joined us today because we are talking about what makes you happy. And this is such an important topic because truly, we're all really good about the doing in life, right? We show up, we do our job, we work, we take care of our family, our friends, we pay the bills, right? But you gotta have those things in your life that allow you to exhale, that bring you joy. And sometimes it's the people we surround ourselves with. I mean, I love my family. My mom is one of my best friends. Oh, Charlie and Frost, my fur babies, they super make me happy. But sometimes it is an activity. It may be being out skiing or hiking and just away from technology and just allowing your mind to decompress and almost be alone with your thoughts, for the first time in maybe 2 weeks, because if you've had a really stressful couple weeks. But sometimes it's something that allows you to purge certain emotions, certain energies. And for me, that is karaoke. Yes, everybody who knows me knows that I do love that. And the most interesting thing is, I do work really hard. There's really long days, and it's a lot of ping-ponging and, pivoting right and left all the time, and going from a call to a meeting, and then reading and planning. And sometimes I'll admit, when I'm thinking about going to karaoke on a Friday night or a Monday night, I might say, I don't know, I'm too tired. And I'm sure we've all been there. Oh, I don't know if I'm going to go to happy hour. Oh, I don't know if I'm going to go to that party. I'm just so tired. And if we allow ourselves to fall into that slump of, I'm too tired, what I want you to do is change that verbiage, change that narrative, because you're giving power to the fear of, gosh, what if I go and it's a waste of time? Or what if I go and the next morning I'm even more tired, then I'm going to regret it that I even went in the first place. I mean, you build this balloon full of all of its helium and then you're like, wow, I shouldn't go. But what if you do go? What if I do go to karaoke? What if you have a great time? So I oftentimes find that although I want to go, there's a bazillion things, and I'm saying a bazillion things that come up that make me think, gosh, I can't. Or, I'm going to be tired. Or, gosh, I don't know, it's such a long day already. But I personally push through that. And when I get to karaoke, now I realize for most people that go that can see, they just pick a song and they have their monitor and they get to see the words and they sing and that's great. For me, though, that's not the case because I can't see the words. And I don't like to just sing the same songs all the time. I do like to stretch myself. So sometimes I'll just, if I know I'm going to go karaoke, I'll just quickly listen to a song that day or think about a song that maybe I sing in the shower or sing when I'm walking my dog. And maybe I don't know it perfectly, but I might know enough of it to carry it through. And so when I go to karaoke, I get up there, I can't see the words, the music starts, and I'm hoping for the best. But you know what? I'm having a great time. And then I usually sing, and I have just I'm on fire. The toes are wiggling, the ears are wiggling. I'm so happy. But then when I get done, I'm like, okay, what's my next song? And then as I'm heading home, I'm like, wow, that was so great. I'm so glad I did it. I'm so glad I did it. Those words are the words that I want you to always be able to say. When we think about today, finding what makes us happy, not everything you ever try is going to lead to happiness, right? Okay, I don't go to the gym and do a workout and feel instantly happy. No, I personally don't like working out. I know that after I do it, I say, oh, I'm so glad I did it. And, sometimes we might do something work-wise and it's like, okay, I know I should do this. Okay, it'd be good for my experience. Okay, I could really help this person out. But there's a lot of things that come up for you that might block you from, saying, encouraging you to say no. But then afterwards, when you see that you helped that person, you gained that experience, you're going to say, I'm so glad I did it. And then when you start to have more of those I'm so glad I did it moments, you start to find you're happy. Because now you're a doer. You're a go-getter. You're an adventurous person. You're somebody that tries and sometimes fails but gets up and try again. What you're basically doing is living full out. You're not just letting life run past you and seeing others live it. That's what a lot of us do on social media, is see others traveling and going out and having a good time and all the pictures of them smiling and cheersing. They don't have anything on you. They don't have any more ability to be happy than you. But you just kind of have to get through the what if, all the moments that could stop you. You want to have more moments of, I'm so glad I did it. And then you're going to quickly find out over time, like I do with karaoke, what are things that bring you joy, and then you want to go more in that direction. I want to thank everybody listening today because this topic is so important. We hear about it in so many different ways, whether people want to be happy in their career or happy in their personal life. And so it's a topic that I know a lot of you think about. We want to make sure that you stay inspired beyond today's show. Go to livingfullout.com, follow us on social media. But most of all, reach out to us at connect@livingfullout.com if you have an inspirational story, or just if there's a topic that you would like us to cover and bring an inspirational guest to a show. We do get your emails and we will make it happen. So go out there, have fun, and live full out.
Thank you for listening to the Living Full Out Show with Nancy Solari. To learn more about this program, visit livingfullout.com for the latest episodes. Connect with the Living Full Out community by following us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and subscribing to our YouTube channel. Here's to you, living full out.